Good Thursday morning, everyone. And our our thoughts this morning are with the people in the Los Angeles area who have evacuated and uh, and are standing by to evacuate. And for those hundreds that have lost their homes completely, um, uh, it's I find it hard to uh, make light on my morning show while all of that is going on. Um, so please, I've asked everybody that knows us personally anyway to report in uh, and let us know your situation. It's really freaky, uh, and we hope everything's going to. I'm afraid the weather is going to continue to be a distraction for all of us for the foreseeable future. Anyway, to cheer things up, I was I was going to sort of follow up on my Masonic talk yesterday about penetrating the membrane of initiation. Uh, a while back, many years ago, as a matter of fact, it was probably around 2001, at a tarot event uh, that was attended by the tarot goddess uh, uh, Thalassa Therese and Rachel Pollack and myself. We were all having breakfast at one of these tarot events. And I guess we were exhausted enough or giddy enough that we resolved to write a novel together. Uh, a funny novel together. And we wanted to have it like a mock secret organization called MOM, MOM. And we went back and forth for quite a while, better part of a year after that. And I penned an introduction to the whole thing just to set the whole thing up. That was going to sort of be my initial contribution to it. Oh, it was about a guy named uh, Joey Smith from Salt Lake City, and all has to do with Masons and stuff. But I wrote this introduction, okay, and every once in a while I take a look at it and I amuse myself with, boy, you were funny. You may not think so, but I'm going to share this introduction to an unfinished novel by Rachel Pollack, Thalassa Therese, and Lon Milo DuQuette. That was never published. But this is what I submitted to the group back in July of 2002. I was 50 years old when I joined the Masons, a venerable age, I thought, to enter the craft. My father had been a Mason. He was a dear soul and the noblest man I've ever met. When I was a youngster, he would amaze me and my brother by reciting from memory all 32 of his exotic and exalted titles from the Blue Lodge and Scottish Rite degrees. But when we asked him about what the Masons did, he just smiled and teased, "It's a secret, and I am Prince of the Royal Secret." Ancient tradition forbids Masons to invite anyone to join the fraternity, but there was never any doubt in my mind that Dad eagerly looked forward to the day when I would follow him between the mystic pillars and become his brother as well as his son. I'm sad to say it was a dream that I would deny him in life. Now I know that that was a terrible mistake. How differently things might have turned out had we been able to meet on the level within the tiled temple, been mutually bound by the sacred oaths, secret signs, words, and tokens. Had I been a fellow Mason, perhaps he would have been at liberty to explain to me the truth about how the world is really run. Perhaps, just perhaps, Dad could have warned me about Mom. That's all caps, you know. I was serving as junior deacon of my father's old lodge in Long Beach, California. I'd been a Mason for less than 3 years. At 52, I was one of the younger members. The average age of my lodge was 74. I enjoyed my participation and enjoyed the archaic ritual and the free thinking and non-denominational teachings that in centuries past were the soul and inspiration of the Enlightenment and a driving force of the American and French revolutions. However, there is little life, let alone revolutionary fervor, left in most of my octogenarian brothers. So I found it highly amusing to learn that not everybody believes that Masons are harmless, fez-headed clowns driving tiny fire engines in parades. In fact, there are thousands, perhaps millions of people around the world who believe most passionately that the Masons are indeed quite powerful and quite evil. We start wars. We buy and sell senatorships and presidencies. We throne and dethrone kings and queens and manipulate the financial markets and currencies of the world. Other accusations don't stop at earthly power. One very popular theory is that we're not human at all, but extraterrestrial shape-shifting reptiles, who, since prehistoric times, bred ourselves into positions of political power all around the world in preparation for some future satanic space alien invasion and earthling barbecue. I found this theory particularly amusing, and while many of my brothers do indeed have a decidedly reptilian look, I thought it safe to joke with them on this subject at our spring equinox stated meeting dinner. I'd forgotten that most everyone else at the table was hard of hearing, so I eventually found myself yelling quite loudly from across the table, "I said we're shape-shifting reptiles! We rule the world! Rule the world!" Okay. We're secret masters. Okay. We control the destiny of the planet. Masons are secret masters that rule the world. Suddenly, the noisy din of the dining room chatter fell silent, and every milky eye in the room was on me. Nobody moved, not even to wipe the rice pudding off his chin. Finally, a silver-haired retired admiral in a wheelchair broke the tension by saying, "Control the planet! I can't even control when I goddamn piss." The dining room exploded in laughter and table slapping. I nervously joined in, but I was left with the distinct feeling that I had somehow breached some fraternal decorum. A few of us were still laughing and making reptile faces as we tried on our aprons and entered the lodge room. I took the junior deacon's chair near the door in the west and settled in for what promised to be a routine business meeting. The master in the east put on his top hat and stood up. "Brother Junior Deacon." I stood up, saluted with the proper sign. "I invite the brethren Wait, invite the brethren in and shut the door. I grabbed my rod and walked out of the lodge room into the lobby area, and there proceeded to discharge my duty. To my surprise, the lobby was completely empty. Not even old Carl, the tailor, was at his post. This was very unusual. The area was usually crowded with dawdlers and latecomers who needed to be quickly aproned and herded into the lodge room. Even though there was no one there to hear my words, the ritual dictated that I must deliver my lines as the master instructed. "Brethren," I shouted to the empty hall, "the worshipful master invites you to seats in the lodge room." It's impossible for me to accurately describe what happened next. I remember it differently each time I call it to mind. I was paralyzed, standing perfectly erect with my rod grounded. I couldn't tell whether I was actually paralyzed or whether time itself had stopped. In either case, I could not move, not even my eyes. Oddly enough, I was not frightened. It was as if I were emotionally paralyzed as well. Then, from the center of my brain, I heard what sounded like a static-filled signal of a cheap citizens band radio. "Welcome, bienvenue, welcome, Brother DuQuette." Actually, I think I heard it musically. "Welcome, bienvenue, welcome, Brother DuQuette. You think the secret master's funny joke, no?" The embarrassingly affected European accent and pretentious use of the negative interrogative made me want to laugh, but I was frozen in place. "Ah, you think everything funny joke, yeah?" "No. Yes. No, I don't know," I answered mentally. My own inner voice crackled distortedly as if I was hearing it through the same damn CB speaker. "Who are you? What's happening to me?" "My name is Equinox." The phony accent suddenly disappeared. "Stonehenge Equinox, and I'm here to tell you that you've just been recruited by an honest-to-God SM. "Sadomasochist?" I mentally asked. "No, you fool, secret master. I'm one of the secret masters you were mocking at dinner. Since the dawn of human consciousness, we have secretly guided humanity's..." "Wait, tell me you're not a reptile." "Secretly guided humanity's..." "Tell me you're not a reptile." "I'm not a reptile, okay? Look, I've got a job for you." "What kind of job?" "An easy job. I'm going to give you something." "You mean like a disease?" "No. It's something like is it some kind of suppository?" "No." "Never mind. You'll know soon enough. I'm going to give it to you, and you're going to know what to do with it." "But why me?" "Because you're a writer. You write about the occult. You write books about magic. You write books about tarot cards and demons and spirits. The secret masters have chosen you because our secret will be safe with you." "Really? This sounds like something I'd just love to write about." "Write all you want, Brother DuQuette. Nobody believes an author of the occult. Besides, nobody reads your books." He had me there. "You see, my friend, you're perfect. As it is said, secrecy's breath is held safe when the puckered lips of discretion's balloon are tied with the strings of incredulity." "The puckered what?" "Never mind. You have no choice. Now listen up, because you're now working for the ET. Extraterrestrial? No. The eternal tricycle. What's that? Not what, who? Okay, who then? You will see, Brother DuQuette. You will see. Now your lodge brothers are waiting for you. Just remember this. Summer solstice, Big Apple breakfast. There was a short burst of radio static in my brain, then the garbled words, "That's a big 10-4, over and out." I fell forward slightly as I was suddenly released from the grip of paralysis. The noisy static in my head was gone. I looked around for a moment but saw nothing out of the ordinary. Then I panicked. How long have I been standing out here? I hurried back into the lodge room, went straight to my chair. The master's gavel sounded. No one gave the slightest suggestion that he'd noticed I'd been gone for such a long time. Did that really happen? After the opening ceremony, the master sent me out again to inform the Tyler that the lodge was open. This time old Carl was snoozing loudly at his post. Nothing out of the ordinary occurred. Maybe my encounter with Stonehenge Equinox had just been some sort of reburn, as we used to call it in the 60s, or perhaps one of those spells that all relatives on my mother's side seemed to get in their dotage. When I returned to my station, I saw what looked like a large brown envelope sticking awkwardly out from under the cushion of my chair. Not wishing to draw attention to myself, I sat down. The loud crackle of smashed papers told me this was no hallucination. I hope you're enjoying this, because I am. The meeting ended with a moment of silence for the 28 members of the lodge who died in the previous month. I dutifully shook hands and said good night to the dear old brothers who would most likely be on next month's list. The moment I was alone, I snatched the envelope from under my chair. It was a brown paper package tied up with strings. I smiled to think that Stonehenge Equinox loved show tunes. My smile faded when I tore the crude envelope open and discovered a manuscript about 2 inches thick. Each page was numbered with Arabic numerals, but the text itself was written entirely in Enochian characters. Enochian is a complex magical language purportedly delivered by angels to the Elizabethan magus Dr. John Dee, court magician and astrologer to Queen Elizabeth I. Dee's encounter with Enochian angels between 1582 and 1589 are without question the most fascinating episodes in the annals of Western magical tradition. For over 25 years, the subject has been my passion. I've written several books and many articles on the subject. I suddenly knew why I was chosen. Eschewing Masonic pie and ice cream, I drove straight home, stopping only to pick up a chilled canned martini to moderate my excitement. My sainted wife Constance met me at the door with an obligatory breath-sniffing kiss. "Did you have a nice time at lodge, dear?" "Yes, I was paralyzed for about 5 minutes when a disembodied entity named Stonehenge Equinox spoke to me telepathically through a CB radio in my brain. He said he was one of the secret masters who ruled the destiny of the planet and that he had a job for me. He told me to eat a big apple for breakfast on the summer solstice, and then he was gone. And somehow he managed to stick this manuscript written in Enochian under my junior deacon's chair, and I sat on it for the whole meeting. It's probably a record of the lost magical operation of Dr. John Dee, full of alchemical secrets and prophecies. I'm going up to my study right now and translate it. Isn't this great? Who knows what forces I'll unleash?" I tell my wife everything. "That's nice, dear. Stopped off for a canned martini, did we? Try not to wake me when you come to bed." She's heard it all. My study is everything a good magician's study should be. The walls that aren't covered with bookcases are festooned with magical masks, swords, charts, sigils, Kabbalistic diagrams, and certificates. Egyptian statuary, ancient marital aids, skulls and trinkets that are too dear to pack away cluttered the tops of the bookcases. Most precious of these baubles are my Ganesha Jack-in-the-Box and my Aleister Crowley Pez dispenser. Both of those gifts created by my dear friend Carolyn Tilley. Okay. But I digress. In the center of the room stands an exact replica of the holy table and other exotic paraphernalia necessary to perform the Enochian magic of Dr. John Dee. Resting in the very center of the holy table is a reproduction of Dee's infamous Sigillum Deameth talisman, that I, as a fledgling wizard, painstakingly engraved on a large disc of pure beeswax one idle Christmas morning nearly 30 years ago. 4 smaller wax versions of the sigil rest under the legs of the table to insulate them from earthly influences. Upon the sigil stands a black obsidian mirror, the same kind used 400 years ago by Dee and his partner Edward Kelly to conjure Enochian angels to visible appearance. The secret masters have chosen well, I thought to myself. There's no better place on earth to translate this manuscript, and I'm just the guy that can do it. I neatly oriented and arranged the pages, pausing here and there to smooth out the more wrinkled ones. There were 222 pages. The paper was a modern 8.5 by 11 100-pound bond with a huge happy face watermark. The exquisitely drawn Enochian characters appeared to have been handwritten with a fountain pen, and the lines on each page were broken and indented in paragraphs, like the text of a novel. This is not at all the format I expected. As a matter of fact, the more I examined it, the less it looked like a classic Enochian document. I removed my Enochian dictionary from its human skin-covered slipcase, a gift from a Nepalese admirer who assured me that it was the deathbed wish of the morbidly obese Lama that his skin be used to supplement the stock of his Lamasery's internet gift shop. One glance at the dictionary was enough to immediately confirm my fears. Even though all 222 pages were filled with exquisitely drawn Enochian letters, the letters did not form words in the Enochian language. In fact, when transposed into English letters, they simply formed English words. I moved randomly through the first few pages, unveiling such mysterious words as sea otter and inflatable woman and salty chum. I was absolutely devastated. Was this an elaborate joke of some kind? The secret masters, if indeed there were any secret masters, didn't need me to translate this document. Any idiot with a copy of the Enochian alphabet could have done it. I turned out the light and went downstairs to bed. In the morning, I resigned myself to finding out what the whole manuscript said. And the easiest way was for me to retype the whole document using the Enochian font I've installed on my personal computer, and then select the entire text and globally change to Times New Roman. It took me the better part of 2 days to complete the transcription. The result looked like a novel, but a very fragmented novel, and there was what appeared to be elements of a plot and a cast of characters, all who seemed rather interesting. But there was a huge and important sections missing. Nothing made sense. I didn't know what to do next. I put the translation in my shoulder bag, and for the next couple months carried it with me everywhere. Each morning during this time, I ritualistic consumed a large apple for breakfast, hoping this Eucharist would trigger an epiphany of some kind. It only triggered an improved regularity and kept the doctor away, and did nothing to give me further insight on this mystery. I employed every tool of magical and Kabbalistic investigation known to me to dissect each minute aspect of my encounter with Stonehenge equinox. I even tried to magically summon him into the Solomonic Triangle, but only managed to accidentally conjure the archdemon Petra Rodentius, the stone-skinned hedgehog of hell. The whole episode began to fade from the forefront of my magical obsessions. I had to get on with my life. Deadlines were approaching. I had a new publisher to impress. They had me on the road nearly every weekend that spring, exploiting my penchant for shameless self-promotion. Although I continued to carry the curious manuscript with me everywhere I traveled, the mystery of Stonehenge equinox would have to simmer on the back burner for a while. The third weekend of June found me in New York City, where I was to lecture at the New York Tarot Festival. I love New York in June. How about you? And promised myself that I would remove the temperance card from my deck and treat myself to a giant martini at the Temple Bar and a moonlight horse cab ride through Central Park. Actually, I did take a moonlight horse cab drive through Central Park with Mary Greer and I believe Thalassa and Rachel Pollack. Clip, clop, clip, clop. And we did have martinis at the Temple Bar, at least I did. But I digress. Okay. It was a beautiful warm night, and I was joined in my Knickerbocker holiday by a bright band of tarot luminaries eager to do the town. After Central Park, we parked ourselves at the Oak Bar at the Plaza Hotel and toasted each of the 22 trumps. Now I'm dipping into fiction here, okay. Then, like true Gotham sophisticates, we poured ourselves back into singing "Stars Spread the News." Okay. The only words of that song any of us could remember. Morning dawned, much too early, and I woke feeling my soul was attached to my body by only the thinnest thread. If I was going to appear in public, I needed coffee, eggs, orange juice, lots of orange juice. I showered and slithered down to the hotel restaurant, all the while praying that I wouldn't have to be pleasant to strangers. I was in luck. After filling my plate at the buffet, I found a whole empty table mercifully far from the disgustingly pleasant sunlight. I was communing with my stewed prunes when I heard the chorus of "Stars Spread in the News." I looked up to see Thalassa, my dear friend and former Atlantean soulmate, standing in front of me holding a plate piled high with the sensible and tidy things ladies eat for breakfast. She was impeccably dressed as always this morning. Okay. And then I wrote a note, Thalassa can fill in the wardrobe here. Okay. She gazed for a minute at the shape of the table, then in her laziest Dorothy Parker drawl reviewed it. LaGuardia Marriott Round Table. It's a small table. I have barely enough room to lay my hat and a few friends. Actually, I believe she quoted Dorothy Parker. I don't believe I had to make that one up. She needed no invitation to sit down, and for the next few minutes we sat alone, quietly offering symbolic refuge for each other's hangover. We soon started to nervously look at the 3 empty chairs at our table. The restaurant was filling with bright-eyed terrorists who were far too loud and cheerful for the ponderous musings of the round table. To our great relief, we caught the eye of celebrated author Rachel Pollack, who seemed to be desperate for refuge. Thalassa and I knew Rachel would not oblige us to be pretentiously pleasant. She pulled up the chair and immediately tried to hail a waiter. Finally, the inevitable happened. A perky young pagan couple from Indiana plopped down in the 2 remaining chairs. "Mind if we join you?" Not waiting for an answer, the young man stretched his arms and said in the most irritatingly cheerful voice, "Man, what a way to start the summer solstice. Breakfast in the Big Apple with Rachel Pollack, Thalassa, and I didn't get your name, old-timer." I was too stunned to be insulted. The moment I heard the words summer solstice, Big Apple breakfast, I swallowed a prune pit and coughed it back onto my plate. This was it. I looked frantically around the room and listened for psychic crackle of the cosmic CB radio in the center of my brain. It didn't come. I then noticed that Thalassa and Rachel looked as completely shocked and disturbed as myself. Then we all started talking at once. You'll never believe where I heard that phrase before. Summer solstice, Big Apple breakfast. It's summer solstice. It's the Big Apple. It's breakfast. Has she contacted you? Him. Has he contacted you? I thought I was going crazy. I thought she was my mother. I've got this stack of cocktail napkins she gave me. She gave me a manuscript. She gave you a manuscript? She gave me a manuscript. Who's she? Stonehenge Equinox gave me the manuscript. I sat on it for an hour. Sat on who? 22 pages, all in code. Does it make any sense? Who? Artemis, one of them says. Iconoclasta, someone said. I said, Stonehenge. Bowstring, Pontifex, Equinox. Wait. Rachel stopped the chatter with a wave of her butter knife. She tried to sound calm. Look, I have up in my room a manuscript that was given me under very peculiar circumstances. So do I, Thalassa and I said with one voice. Right then, we need to talk. Well, it was back in March, and I was down in the Masonic Temple when I became completely paralyzed. I started to explain my story with my rod in my hand and, not here, Lon, ever the grown-up, Rachel seemed for the moment to have a grip on the situation. Now let's just be calm, Lon, Thalassa. Why don't you get your manuscripts and meet me in my room in 10 minutes? We'll tell our stories and look at those manuscripts. The poor Indiana couple did not know what hit them. The 3 of us jumped up and left them to pay the check without so much a blessed be. We shared our story and pieced the 3 manuscripts together in about 3 hours. After making 3 copies on the hotel's copy machine, we each disappeared to our rooms and read for the first time the text you hold in your hand. And that's as far as the whole book got. Okay. Well, I hope that gave you a moment of release between news flashes of very dramatic events taking place all over the place. But anyway, hope you enjoyed that. And maybe some, who knows, Rachel has left us, but Thalassa and I still threaten each other. with finishing the book, and more about the secret order of Mom. You know, the order of Monday morning is Mom spelled inside out. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.